Welcome back to the channel. It's great to have you here, and it's great to drop into some more subjects and topics that, in my hope, really helps to not just enlighten the world. This isn't a cognitive growth process, although that's a big piece of it. But yeah, topics that really change the fundamental way that we be in the world, change our actual somatic movements and our our actions, but our ways of being, our ways of thinking, our ways of responding, our ways of living through ourselves. That's really it. So one of my favorite topics that I'm sure I'll address from time to time again is 100% responsibility. And it's a big topic, and at times I love it. And actually, most of the time I love it. Most of the time I love it because, and this is what I tell my kids all the time, when they were young, they'd be blaming their sister or their brother for their ailments and their issues. And it was really clear that when we blame other people, we lose our empowerment, because however we feel, if we're upset because someone else is rude, then we give up our power. Then the way I'm going to feel is completely dependent on other people's actions all of the time. And in certain ways in all ways, I'm going to say that's accurate. In certain ways, that's really obvious. In other ways, it's not. Because at certain times, people can act like dicks, and that can really frustrate us. But the important thing is to take the responsibility of it. That's where we actually acquire back our power. It's how we acquire back our ability to respond. That's how we grow in our foundation of being sovereign. So today, I want to focus on something called the Karpman's triangle. And it's a drama triangle. And perhaps you've heard of it, perhaps you're not. And I'm going to get into it here in a moment. But first, one of the reasons I want to get into that is because there's something called the 12 stages of healing. And I don't remember the author's name in the moment. He's a network chiropractor. I wasn't planning to talk about this, but I realized I needed to. He talks about these 12 steps of healing. It's called the 12 steps of healing. Go look up that book. Amazing, amazing book. And there's these 12 stages in the healing process as this person is found, and I have found myself tracking my own healing process. And I go through these 12 stages. And the first one, like with anything, is to recognize that we're in pain, that there's suffering, right? That there's something going on that is painful or that we're suffering around. That's stage one. That's got to happen there. If you don't recognize that, something's missing or there's nothing to heal, right? Because everything feels great. Now, that part seems obvious. The next part, though, is we'll go to a place of polarity. And that is like I wear glasses. I wear glasses because my eyes aren't good, or because doctors put me in glasses when I was way too young, or we tend to blame something outside of us. It's a circumstance we're in. It's a situation we're in. It's our parents' fault. It's our friend's fault. It's the weather. I'm cold right now because the weather is cold outside. We'll go into polarity. I'm not the reason for it. The reason is out there. Now, that's a really important thing to realize. And the sooner we can realize that, the better. Because the next stage is realizing that we're stuck in a perspective. We're stuck in a loop that we're blaming something outside of ourselves. We're not taking that full responsibility. And that perspective that we're stuck in is described by the Karpman's triangle. And the Karpman's triangle is just a triangle made by a psychotherapist back in the 60s. His name was Karpman. And he realized there are 3 roles people play when in a dysfunctional relationship, which we are all in varying degrees with varying stuff, unless you've been able to really work beyond it. And even if you have, I'm going to invite that there's more, because there's power in it. There's amazing growth in it. But these 3 roles on the triangle are the victim, the perpetrator, and the hero. And depending on the situation, we just switch from role to role to role. And most often when we're blaming, or when we are blaming something else, we're in the victim role. Always. Always, 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 always. And that's when you're on the triangle. And then sometimes someone's hurting and you're like, I got an idea. I got a strategy. I know what's going to fix you. Boom. We're the hero. We come in to fix something. And usually from an external opinion, my perspective, the way I worked through it, what I was told, even when we're sick and we're like, oh, I'm sick. I need more vitamin C. Like I'm in a lack of vitamin C. I make that medicine be the hero, or the doctor be the hero, or we go in some allopathic view, we go external for an answer, and we don't always recognize it's in here, right? And that's the beauty of what I want to get to. And then of course there's the perpetrator. And as much as I think a lot of people don't like being the perpetrator, there's a lot in the perpetrator. I think we all perpetrate more than we know, but it's not intentional, but we get blamed for things, and some are true, some are not. And the persecutor or the perpetrator or the villain, like these have numerous names to it, come up in varying degrees, in relationships or in a marriage. It's like, oh, well, we go back into blame, saying it's my spouse's fault or something like that. That's the blamer. But when we go to the perpetrator, they can often be in that space of not caring. Like, they got to deal with it. Screw them. Fuck that. And we go back into, and now I'm kind of being the persecutor. The interesting thing about the triangle is that you need two people to be on it. In order to have a victim, you have to have a perpetrator. In order to be the hero, you have to have a victim. In order to be the perpetrator, you have to have a victim. So it all interrelates. Interesting. Have I thought about the hero? Oh yeah, the hero and the perpetrator, of course, are related. All of the movies that we watch and stories are all about the hero, the good guy and the bad guy. And then there's often a victim, but the good guy and the bad guy are often in this fight. The interesting thing is, and this is a phrase I use a lot with my kids and in my relationship, getting off the triangle. Getting off the triangle is an individual process. It is just you. Get off that triangle. And that's going to leave the other person looking for somebody to put on the triangle at first, until they realize they don't have to be on that triangle either. They don't have to be a victim. They don't have to be the hero. They don't have to be the perpetrator. You can choose to get off of the triangle. And this for me is extraordinary, because it is self-empowering to get off that triangle, to realize that maybe we're not perpetrating someone. Maybe the way we are triggers somebody, and then they have an opportunity to work through their trigger. They have the opportunity to take that responsibility, become self-empowered, heal a trigger that they have. And actually, you're not the perpetrator or the hero. You're just doing you. You're just being you. There's a level of consciousness beyond the triangle in which to go into your own self-growth, where you really acknowledge you are the one that holds the keys to your healing. Other people, other things, other situations are constantly going to show us where our traumas are, where our triggers are, where our limitations are. At some point we stop calling them traumas, right? At some point we're just like, oh, our limitations, our invisible glass ceilings, the things that kind of are holding us back, but we don't even realize it due to our programming. But that sentence right there means I'm blaming my programming. Fine, so be it. Stuck in a pattern, keep blaming that. Empowerment, what's your programming? What is the programming you have? You chose that programming on some degree, just to some degree. And I know that's a debatable topic, but we have. I believe we've chosen our family, our friends, what we were born into, and there's growth in it. We are giving ourselves situations to become who we are meant to be. What is it? Morgan Freeman, I know, says this. I don't know if it's from a movie or if an actual quote or if someone else said it and he was just repeating it, but he says, when you ask God for courage, do you get courage or do you get a situation to be courageous in? You get a situation to be courageous in. So if we're blaming other things for our lack, then we lose the notion and the possibility of what it means to step out of the victim, off of the triangle, and come into, wait, what is my opportunity here? Who can I actually be through this? What am I like on a subtle, deep layer wanting to learn here that my consciousness may not even be aware of? And that's the beauty of the Cartman's Triangle. Is one, being able to recognize it, and two, being able to see that's the pattern we're often stuck in. And I remember the first time I was going through these 12 stages of healing, and I'll go through those 12 stages in another video. I really wanted to hone in on this triangle, but I realized I woke up with this really horrible back pain. It actually had been growing. It had been there in many ways. And this one day I woke up and I could hardly move, and I had a day's worth of work and blah, 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 blah. And I could have easily blamed my bed, blamed stress, blamed all the things I have going on, blamed other people for not helping me out enough. I could have gone into that over and over and over, but I had just gotten introduced to this book, and I really wanted to go through the stages. And they're not like step-by-step stages where you go through the stage, you check the box, and you do it. But I let myself, I was able to take the morning off, and I went through the 12 stages twice, actually. And as I read parts of the book, I let myself feel into the stage and actually have my own self-realization. This is not just like a brain cognition realization. When I say realization, you are realizing it. You are making it real. You are realizing it. Like you're letting it become truly real, like it interwove into my system. And it's just the way this day unfolded, where I could read the book and I could recognize the patterns of thinking, not even the blame in that so much, because I could have blamed. I didn't blame anyone for that low back pain. It's actually an SI joint, but I was looking for my hero. I need to stretch. Oh, I need to move these things. I need a chiropractor. I just need that person, that practitioner to fix me. Just pop the thing back in or move the thing. And for whatever reason, I don't even remember, it wasn't an option. But I stopped looking for the hero or someone else to come fix me. And as I went through, I kind of went into this meditative state where I could deeply process some of these stages. And by noon, I went on a 2.5-mile run feeling phenomenal. No, I was feeling 9 out of 10. Like I could have a slight sense of it, but it was so, I was hobbling. I could hardly walk in the morning. And there was such a place to move through. And it's because I wasn't in the looking for the perpetrator, but I was in the space of looking for the hero. And I was definitely a victim. And that was my first actually real personal understanding to somatic healing and presencing something beyond. Because when things get into when things hurt your body physically, they're already stewing in your psychological world, in your emotional world, in your energetic world. They're already there. The body's the last place it goes to. And by the time it gets there, it's in those other layers. But if we look at the body as it's the only thing, it's being the victim, and we're not looking at the answers, or the issue is deeper within myself, we're missing out on a lot of our real healing. To really come off that triangle and recognize how much we are either looking to blame or looking for something else to heal us. We are our own healers. And I know that can sound nice in an esoteric way. It can sound very new agey, or we can heal anything. The reality is we can. We are actually made and designed for this. And I think true healers know that they don't heal, right? If I'm just going to heal you of your ail, if I'm going to take away your pain, you'll eventually be back to me unless you go back and actually come to a healing or a wholing of yourself around what that pain was or what that suffering was. And pain and suffering are beautiful because they are guides in so many ways toward living more holy. And I mean that in both ways of the word, holy, spiritual, but also whole, as in living in our whole or our holistic self. And healers are really guides to guide us back into self-healing, to guide us back into the wholeness, to take that 100% responsibility. Not because we have to, we get to. Our growth and our empowerment and our self-leadership and our sovereignty is all tied up in that. So the Cartman's Triangle. Look for it. Look for it. It'll give you guidance, and then hop off it, especially when other people put you on it. Other people will make you the bad guy. Other people make you the victim. Like, that happens. Yeah, that happens because they like to be the hero. And in that there's a whole nother level of what we stabilize our nervous system at. Some people are always being the victim because we're used to that, or they're used to that. Some people are always being the hero because they're used to that. Some people are always being the perpetrator because they're used to that. We have a certain way that our nervous system operates, and we learn that often when we're very young, and we go back to that. It's why we kind of find the same people in relationship again and again and again, because it can be scary working into something new. It can be nerve-wracking to be in a different experience that we don't know. We'll often choose something familiar but painful versus unfamiliar yet unknown. And that's a capacity. That's a bandwidth. That's not a bandwidth, a capacity or range practice and phenomena. So we'll save that for another day too. But noticing what pattern you fall into. I think for me it was victim. I think I went into victim a lot. Then I went into hero a lot. I always wanted to have the answer, the solution. And coming off it now often means just silence. Just being with and let a person make their own realizations, but to keep showing up in my sovereignty, to keep being whole myself, meaning not let myself get thrown as much. And it still happens. I still get thrown, but my emotions will grab a hold of me and pull me in one way or another. And that's where I get invited into deeper learning and deeper connectivity to myself, more wholeness. Again, to do more holing of myself. But that is our growth today. That is our insight for today. The Cartman's Triangle. Yeah, look for it, see it, get the insight, hop off it. So important as a stage. You can't ignore what's there and what's happening. But you don't have to stay on it either. But to recognize, to get off the triangle means on some level you begin assuming responsibility. Because Cartman's Triangle is an unhealthy dynamic between people in relationship, but it's also an extraordinarily healthy dynamic within ourselves. When you recognize you're the victim, you also have your healer, your hero. You also begin to recognize your perpetrator. And instead of those being three separated parts, they begin to come together. They begin to make wholeness or a union within you. And you see those parts as the parts that are guiding you towards your holing. I'll start using that word more often, your holing. Thanks for joining me today. Subscribe and like. I think that's what they say. To hear more from this channel. Have a beautiful day. Create a great day. Even when it's the worst day, you get to decide what that means. All right. Be well.